Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff, and a big bomb dropped on us today about the Gloomspite Gits coming out. If you don't know, basically at GW anymore, whenever a battle tome is coming out and someone gets ahead and gets spoilers out there, like showing pictures before they're supposed to, that kind of stuff, which is kind of crummy in my opinion, they respond now by, instead of like trying to quail rumors, they're just like, you know what, it's fine, boom, here it is, and they show everything. So I'm really pumped about that. And so what I'm going to do is what I typically do when these kinds of videos come out. I did one for the Deepkin and got great response. There's a lot of folks who don't have the time to read through the articles and stuff like that. And so what I do with these is I just go through the article as it is, as anyone would read it, and then kind of go back to the top and go, what does this actually mean? What are we learning about the faction? All that kind of stuff. So that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So let's hop over here. This is a live show, of course. I will take questions and stuff like that. So go ahead and save those till towards the end. And just like, looks like Bustus Boost said, I always have people write in caps questions so I don't miss it. So, but let's just go over the article here. It looks like everything's working fine. And let's see here. Since the release of Warhammer Age of Sigmar battle tomes have gone from strength to strength, and Gloomspite Gits is no exception. This book is packed with sinister and often hilarious, that's a super important thing, new lore, fantastic art, and a deep set of rules that transform the Grots and their monstrous allies into a single, coherent, powerful army. We went through this last time I did my initial video talking about the faction. I think it's going to follow the Beast of Chaos kind of thinking. So yeah, that's awesome. It's good stuff. Let me talk about the battle tome. Saturday the 5th is when you can pre-order it, which is fantastic. And of course, they're coming out the War Scroll cards. Just as an aside, with the Beasts of Chaos, I used these for the first time because they have the new format for the Beasts of Chaos this weekend. And these things, if you have a faction that has these available and you have not bought them, go buy them. They're the best things ever. I love that. So they're going to be previewing this coming week up, after pre-orders are in, while the hype is kind of building up. They're going to be going through what the actual, how the mechanics is, but they're going to be previewing how the new battle tome works. So, and I'm sure you can expect to see a Warhammer TV over on Twitch, I think it is. They usually do games the week that the battle tome is released. At least they did for Night Haunt, Stormcast, and those kinds of things. So keep an eye out for that. As well as battle tome, the Gloomspite Gits will be getting loads of new kits, which they are. I think it's like 8 to 10 kits or something ridiculous. We've already seen the Fanatics. I'm going to kind of go through the ones we've already seen, reading through and seeing if there's any details. They just talk about how they're revitalizing the Fanatics. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. I'm making sure I'm not looking at the wrong one. No, I am. Okay. Because they have two things that are almost identical. The original thing that we talked about and then this one, they look pretty similar for the first few paragraphs. You find everything. Loon Smasher Fanatic wield balls and chains that can be concealed inside your units during deployment, but before being unleashed as a deadly surprise for your foes. While Spore Splatter Fanatics, which is the guys with the spore on the bottom, we didn't know any deals about them. Shield your grots from shooting with choking clouds of spores. That is super interesting, and not an effect that I would have thought. But looking at the model, I thought he was sitting on a rock, but that's clearly smoke and stuff like that. So I'm interested how that works. Maybe while you're being charged, you would deploy these guys to get them in their way, and these guys, if you're being shot at, would do a similar thing. That's kind of a cool idea. I'm not sure how it would work on a table. Need to see the rules, but what a unique idea that one does damage, one does... One is more melee focused, one is more shooting. I love it. Squig Hoppers, meanwhile, have been remade in an incredibly customizable plastic kit that offers interchangeable riders, customizable squigs, and more. The kit also builds brand new Moonclan Grot unit, the Boyne Grot Bounders, which is super funny, which someone made the joke like, hey, if you're missing Bretonians, check these guys out. We'll bring the picture up here. And it is. It's just... Grot Knights. They have little metal helmets, and that's pretty much it. Lances on them. I do love, and this is pointed out, there seems to be one armored squig in every 5 or 10. I love the armored squig. I'm sure it's just like to denote the hero. As I said before, I think for this one, the way it's described reminds me most of the customizability of the what do they call it? The Storm Boys, the orcs with jetpacks, where there's really just a few set pieces, but the amount of customization you can kind of spin those up means you can have a unit of 30 that never look the same. That's really cool. If you're looking to field hordes of squigs, which many people are, you'll be well served by the new Squig Herd Kit, which features everything you need to build and customize 10 of them, plus a pair of herders. Now, we do know that there are a few different kinds of herders. With your choice of 10 unique faces, I'm assuming that means squig faces, your various legs, you'll be able to ensure no two squigs look alike. That's awesome. That's what I want in a model set, particularly horde armies, to be able to create uniqueness. There is also a herder with gongs and something like that, so there are a few options even there. If your army needs a leader, you can't go wrong with Skagrot the Loon King, a self-proclaimed, that's super important, overlord of the Gloomspite Gits. He's a supremely cunning commander and powerful wizard. And someone, I love this online, pointed out that he looks like Miss America when they're holding the bouquet at the end of the ceremony, so I thought that was super funny. I like him. I think his squig is super unique. There's no others quite like it. He has a very goblin-esque nose, particularly, but it's very interesting. Seeing this different type of squig, it almost makes me wish that they're going to lean into kind of what 40k orcs did, where like the weapons have different types of squig ammunition, meaning like the race known as squigs is so diverse that they use them for different things, and you have all different kind of fun effects. I'm hoping that's the case. On the tabletop, you'll find Skagrot invaluable, but capable of manipulating the passage of the Bad Moon, which I'm assuming is their allegiance ability, and even stealing enemy heroes' artifacts of power, which is such a fun idea. He's a magnificent project for a painter too, packed with gorgeous and characterful detail. Well, I can't argue that part, but going with stealing artifacts of power sounds incredibly fun. I'm just trying to think of the most fun ones there is. So like stealing the ethereal amulet from a not Gorjek, but anyone on a Maw Crusher, Iron Jaws player, that's going to be super nasty. I mean, that's just a fun idea. I had said before, I think that Grotz is going to be an army of lots of bodies and just, bodies and craziness, but also I think an important part of that to complement it is going to be debuffing your opponent. So that kind of fits in with that. For example, the basic Moonclan Grot kind of exemplifies what I'm talking about. It's a horde unit, but all the netters give you a -1 to hit. So that's very interesting. You talk about the terrain again, which is a beautiful piece. It says, meanwhile, the Bad Moon Loon Shrine is a must-have for anyone starting a Gloomspite army. Available at no matched play points, like all terrain that you get for an allegiance ability. The icon of the Bad Moon has a chance to return destroyed units of Stabas and Shootas to the battlefield, representing the unending hordes summoned to battle by the Bad Moon. Now, interesting, I know what a Staba is. I'm curious as to what a Shoota is in this context. Stabas and Shootas exist in 40k orcs. I haven't seen a Shoota here. Maybe we'll get to that later. So that cave I was talking about where it looks like maybe they're summoning... maybe not summoning per se, but recycling certainly. So there might be some limits on the unit has to fit within so many inches of the base, so maybe you can't bring back a whole 60 blob, that kind of stuff. I can tell you though, from my experience with the Beasts of Chaos, it's super important. The idea of recycling troops is incredible. I mean, trying to think how to say this. So like I put 30 gore into a blob and they would just evaporate. And I would let them, if I had this piece of terrain, I would let them evaporate to battle shock and then bring in a second wave, because at that point they've pushed the enemy so far back or held them up. They already did their job. So that's an incredibly interesting piece of terrain. I dig it. And let's see if they do any more details about the endless spells. So on the topic of unending, the new endless spells are another indispensable addition for Gloomspite Gits players, offering you a new set of summoned sorcery unique to your army. Each endless spell has a host of strange and powerful effects, like Scrap Scuttles, or the Arachna Cauldron. Their use of Arachna is my favorite thing ever. which offers your wizards greater arcane power while damaging nearby foes. We're not sure what's in the cauldron, but our advice is don't drink the soup. The one I'm most interested in is the spiders. And the reason I say that is because like the big oval base of spiders, because they could go a lot of different directions with how that plays out, and so I'm very curious about that one. One of the items that has caused most delight in our Warhammer Age of Sigmar Facebook group isn't a model. The team designed or been hard at work making only fusion, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about the dice. They put a lot of work into these dice. If you haven't seen them, they are super textured. They got teeth. They're made to be squig dice, which I'll be honest with you, I don't want to see these. Well, let me correct that. I want to see these on the tabletop as command point counters or wound markers. If my opponent walks up and is rolling those, I'm going to lose my mind. Not because I distrust opponents or anything like that, but because it's hard to keep. Like, I have enough trouble. We have a Deepkin player locally, and like those dice, it's clear, and it has like the blue little slit wavy line. They're the hardest things to see from 4 feet away if you're looking across the table. So I'm going to go ahead and say the dice are not balanced. They're probably, they're not even smooth. You can tell right here they're textured. Say, for example, this first one here with the one facing us, these two little corner nubbins stick out. So, again, I think command points and wound markers, incredibly fun. Dice, not so much for me. Anyway, if I'm playing someone, I want them to say out loud what they got for important stuff. It's not about distrusting your opponent. I always assume the best, but it's more a matter of like, I literally don't know what's happening. Now, normally that's all we'd show if this were a regular pre-order preview article, but that's it. But in the spirit of year-ending madness, behold the second wave of Gloomspite hordes, a veritable tide of clammy, boggle-eyed beauties they are too. And so basically what they're telling you is all the stuff we just talked about is available for pre-order on the 5th, and then the following week, this next wave of stuff is coming out. So they showed you 2 weeks worth of stuff, and that's incredible. I love it. I love whenever we have a chance to plan our purchases and budget, because adult. Available for you on the 12th, the January. Consider, if you will, the glorious Gabapalooza, a selection of wise grots whose fungal experimentations have left each blessed with curious powers and appearances. Let's spend some time on this one. Okay, so from that description, I'm not sure if these are individual heroes or if they're going to be a unit, like a cohesive unit. Either way, I'm pretty happy. So basically, going from in clockwise here, we have this guy up in the top left who looks like a super cool. If he's just a wizard on his own, that's amazing. I like him quite a bit. He's just very characterful. I got the zany eyes. And here's the thing. The smoke that he has coming off of his staff is the kind of smoke that I wanted to see on the endless spell for the spider cauldron. Where that one looks very flat, this looks very in motion, right? The inlays of the light purple in the darkness of the top portion, how it fades into the more violet. Exactly what I was looking for. I think that's the thing I've pinned down that I didn't like about that endless spell. Going over to the right, we have some guy with a troll skull and another guy on top trying to be all scary. Super love that. Yeah, I don't know what he does, but I love it. I would love it if he did something ridiculous, like gave like a -2 to bravery for enemy units nearby. I think that would be so fun if like he's just that big and scary. Down the bottom here, we seem to have looks like a guy creating potions with that. So he has stuff boiling on his back, and there seems to be a faucet on the right going into a pouch. This might be great for buffing a nearby unit, kind of like the what's the chalice for Daughters of Cain, that kind of thing. And then there's this dude who's clearly eating a bunch of shrooms. I'm a little curious about this mushroom with bat arms and how that's going to be modeled on him. Like, I just feel like that's going to break off, but that's awesome. I love his little mount he's riding on. And one thing they've done is all of these stabs, they all just look so unique. I think it's the little things that make it so cool. I love him riding on this. He could just be a normal sorcerer, and I would absolutely take that. Like, this is the kind of set, if these were all solo stuff, I would just buy this to paint it. Like, these exemplify what Moonclan Grots and all this whole faction is going to be like, just character. So I can't emphasize that enough. And this guy was on the cover art with his 3 eyes, and he's carrying a box of potions, so I could see him being somewhat similar to the potion guy over here. But again, he kind of looks more towards the spider side of things. He actually kind of looks like he would fit in well with the, what are the spider guys from Silver Tower? I can't think of what they are, but I could see that kind of mutation. He looks just like them, so that's pretty awesome. A group of 5 grots, the Gobblepalooza includes a Shroommancer, Spiker, Boggle-Eye, Scaremonger, and Brewgit. I like the Brewgit. I'm assuming that's the guy with the flask who's brewing stuff. This set of fungus mad models is a firm favorite in the office. It's okay, so it includes 5, but it doesn't say if they're a specific unit or not. While we're looking at characters, which I'm assuming that makes me sound like they are individual characters, which is cool. While we're looking at characters, we should mention the forthcoming Loon Boss. This moon-headed hero is the leader of your Grot Stabbas. Your Grot Stabbas need to keep them stabbing at maximum efficiency. He's not bad at fighting with his Moon Slicer either. And he looks just like the Grot on the cover, which is what I wanted to see. I was most interested in the armored Grots. And this guy looks amazing. He has that same kind of beaten metal helmet that the Iron Jaws have. I think he matches them. As far as I know, I have no clue whether or not they're going to be allies, but I'd like them to be. I think thematically they don't look, the armored ones specifically, don't look vastly different. I think they would kind of, fit in pretty well. Plus the things he's standing on all look super fun. There's a lot of just detail in his model. Painting flames that tiny, how small this guy must be. Super cool. Fans of alliteration. Okay, here we go. The Sneaky Snufflers are grots for you. Each of the 6 plastic Sneaky Snufflers is a shroom hunting maniac with a rack of ill-gotten fungi on his back and a snuffle squig straining at the leash. So we do see different kinds of squigs. Get this picture up. Okay. So more of your more classic kind of grots. Let's see. Yeah, they got a backpack full of fungi and stuff like that. And they're little squigs with colossal noses. I love it. I'm kind of curious as to what they... Oh, sorry, buddy. Kind of curious as to what they do. I just shut things off. Let's see. These curious squigs are the first to scent the growing loon-cap mushrooms that herald the Bad Moon's arrival on the battlefield. The loon-caps they harvest can intoxicate even the lowliest Moon Clan warriors into fearsome fighters, though it might cost them their lives. Not only are they handy in a fight, but they're also glorious sucker-snouted beauties, adding even more flavor to the squig family. Interesting. Okay. So I'm assuming they can buff a nearby unit, maybe at the cost of some mortal wounds, something like that. Okay. Mangler squigs were common enough sight in the battlefields of the world that was, and the all-new plastic kit up for pre-order on the 12th will ensure they'll be rampaging across more realms. This is the new Mangler squid. Looks incredible. I still like the old one. If you have the old one, he was one of the more cool models in that range for sure. Let me go over here and just... yeah, no, these guys look great. I wish there was like a 360 so I could get like a sense of how well connected the two squigs are. But I like it. Especially this one here with like his face kind of blown off. He's got a mad eye and a skull. Kind of got a Scarbrand thing going on there. I love it. And now we come to my favorite part. The part that I think needs to stand out the most. And that is this... actually, I'm going to finish reading about the Mangler squid. This glorious kit not only makes the infamous multi-grot squig rodeo insanity that is the classic Mangler squig, but you can also build it with a hero riding on top. Okay, so that could be the mount of a hero, which is really cool. That's sort of a, I think a Thunder Tusk is kind of one of those kits that like you can build a hero or you can build the 2 guys just riding it. That sounds very similar to me. That's awesome. Moon Clan are certainly at the forefront of the line when it comes to the new models the Gloomspite gets, but the biggest and beefiest new models are the much anticipated Troggoths. Now, if you didn't know, the current Troggoths are all the ones from like the original Dwarf versus Night Goblin set from Fantasy Battles, and they show their age in many ways, but this is a new, I'm assuming, multi-part. See, the rock gut Troggoths, to be specific, these towering creatures of muscle and stone are said to have crawled from the bowels of the earth and are looking at them makes it easy to believe. A 3-model kit. Okay, so 1K will make 3 models. These pot-bellied, rock-skinned brutes are gorgeous reimagining of classic. Okay, they just reimagined the old ones, which is true. Yeah, they did have the guy holding the rock over his head, guy with the big kind of warhammer-looking thing. And one thing about this I'm curious is, can you build all 3 in different variations? So if you wanted 3 guys chucking rocks, you have to buy 3 kits. No details, but I'm interested. And last but not last, and by the size of it, definitely not least, lumbers the utterly monstrous Dankhold Troggoth. And we got this bad boy. And I love him. He is such a cool looking model. Yeah, I'm trying to think what he has on his chest. Looks like some kind of arcane device, but not really anything specific. Huge warhammer. I don't see a lot of things on his base to give me like a sense of scale. So I'm kind of interested to see like maybe a Moonclan standing next to him or something. Antisocial and reclusive, these behemoths dwell in the darkest, Dankholds, where they slumber away the decades, awakening only to feast on the magical fungi that grow upon the realm stone deposits in the roots of the mortal realms. Such raw magic doesn't kill the Dankhold Troggoths, as it would some lesser creatures, but instead mutates them into the vast lumbering monsters you see here. This gigantic plastic kit comes loaded with spare bits, enabling you to make boulder club-wielding Dankhold Troggoths with a variety of alternatives. That's super cool. We'll be showing you each in detail in the near future. So that is cool. To wrap it up here. And there you have it. Truly, the bad moon has favored us this holiday season, and now all awaits is to usher the new year truly splendid fashion. If you want to know, and they kind of just pimp out, pay attention to the Facebook page if you want to know more. So let's just, as I said before, do our quick review here. See, I got quite a few people joining me. Oh, someone said they do have a size comparison on Instagram. I'll check that out in a second. He's comparable to a Gargant, which is a pretty good size, especially in comparison to the rest of the army, if that's true. Thank you so much for putting that, Larry. Going back to the Battle Tome here, if you're buying this, you want the cards. Just gotta throw that out there. You want them, period. The fact that there is a Fanatic variant that stops, melee, which it does now. Right now, Fanatics will stop melee. They'll shut it down by countercharging, basically. But I'm more interested in this one, the Spore Splatter Fanatics. Shield your grots from shooting with choking clouds of spores. And I wonder if this would be a similar thing, but like with the first ones, when your opponent declares a charge against your Moonclan Grot unit, that's when you'd say, okay, but I have Fanatics, and you'd pop them out. You have to prove that you put Fanatics in the beginning of the game, but that's when they pop out and try to countercharge. With these, I wonder if it's like your opponent declares a shooting attack against that unit, and then that's when you would have these guys pop out and do a smoke shield, basically, it sounds like. Very cool stuff. Yeah, I dig it. So, and also I'm assuming they can do some meager amounts of damage, but it seems like a good delivery system. If you had a thin wall of Moonclan Grots kind of shielding your Troggoth section of your army, you would give kind of that whole section, I'm assuming -1 to shoot. I don't really know how that works. But yeah. The Squig Hoppers. Here's the thing. I am really into multi-kits. So what is this? The Squig Hoppers, the normal guys riding stuff, and there's also the brand new Moonclan Grot unit, the Boing Grot Bounder. So it looks like a multi-kit thing, which is awesome. The fact that you get so many bits, if that's true, truly astounding. So yeah. Trying to think. I'm assuming if these guys are going to be anything like knights, you'll have the Squig Hoppers probably be something akin to like Rottor Horsemen, where their main thing is being fast, having multi-wounds, which is kind of what Squigs do now. They're not most lethal unit in the game, but they're aggressive, and then your big blocks can move up behind them. With these guys, I assume they're a little more offensive, and they can probably do more damage on the charge, like most things with lances or glaives tend to do with Age of Sigmar. So that's kind of my assumption there. When it comes to the herder kits, there's not much to say because they weren't really taken much in this edition, just the basic herds. There were people who were running them, but I think the riders were far more prevalent. Part of that was the kind of lack of interesting options when it came to herders, but the fact that they have these two, at least one more that I can think of with the gongs, and I think there was a fourth. I'd be interested to see if there was like, if you had a big herd of squigs, so to speak, and the combination of herders you had kind of influenced what their stat line or abilities were. You could buff them in various ways with herders. I think that would be incredible because it would make it customizable in a rules way, whereas the other squig units are customizable in a very real modeling way. I think that would be cool. Going into the Loon King, I don't know much to say on him that I didn't say before. The little thing that we got, I think he's going to do something with your allegiance ability in terms of dictating how the Bad Moon interacts on the tabletop. I don't have any real details on that yet. And then the idea of stealing an opponent's artifact of power, which just sounds so cool to me. I don't personally run any artifacts of power that are incredible, but if you do something like the brooch from Malign Sorcery, where on a 5-up you regenerate command points, that's devastating to some armies that need them. That's super cool. The terrain, I was kind of right about the idea of units coming from the hole. It does say available no match play points. This icon has a chance to return destroyed units of Stabas and Shootas. Again, I'm still not sure what the Shootas are in this scenario. Stabas are typically your Moonclan Grots, I would think, right? They're called Stabas. They're weapons they hold. So that's kind of what I was thinking. So again, I'm not sure about the Shootas. If anyone knows, tell me. But yeah, the idea, I think there are going to be some restrictions to this based on like, Lucas said the shooters will be bow armed. I guess there is a bow variant, isn't? That's probably it. So it's just Moonclan Grots, right? Where they have a bow or a pike. Okay, that makes perfect sense. I forgot they had a bow option because I've never seen anyone take them. Forgive me. So yeah, my thing about this likely is it's going to have some restriction upon. See, here's the thing. It says have a chance to return, so that means it's probably not obviously automatic. I think that's pretty fair to say. And then in addition to that, I'm sure there's going to be something like you can only fit models within 3 inches of it or some kind of limitation, because I can't imagine the power in slowing down a game so much to set up an entire new unit of 60 dudes after you just took away a unit of 60 dudes sounds ridiculous and annoying. So I think if there's some way to limit that by like how many models or what the space that you can put around, I think makes a lot of sense. And honestly, towards late game, if they chew through a unit of a big block of 30 to 60 grots, another 10 holding them up is probably going to weigh them down for the rest of the game if they're on turn 3 or so. I think that's fair. So that's going to be my since this prediction went well, my next prediction is it's not going to be just any unit that was destroyed. It's probably going to be some limitation based on footprint or number of models, something like that. And of course, it seems to be strictly for Moonclan stuff, which is great because it incentivizes you to take them, at least in spammable hordes. So as far as endless spells go, we didn't learn a whole lot. Here's all 4 of them. We know the Spider Cauldron buffs up the spellcasters. I'd be interested to see if it was kind of like a different version of Cogs, where, if you do Cogs obviously speeds up things, makes things go faster, but if you do the thing where it slows time down, you get an extra spell to cast. And so I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, oh, you get to cast an additional spell, but instead of having the option to speed up time, this one's like, and hey, if anyone gets near you, they take damage. Your enemy gets near you, they take damage. And I think that's a pretty cool trade-off, because that way you could have your super incredibly cheap spellcasters in a Moonclan Grot army right now. They're the cheapest spellcasters, I think. Be very aggressive. You can have them move forward and be aggressive in the center of the battlefield and have a chance of at least hurting people as they come at you. Again, I'm more interested in learning about the spiders. I really want there to be a thing where it's like you summon a unit of spiders and your opponent can either unbind it or they have to actually get wounds to it. It has to take damage to go away. I think that would be the coolest freaking thing. Because at that point you're summoning I don't know, specters to fight in your stead. The dice, I think, are impractical for when it comes to actual gameplay, but I think if you are truly a fan of this army, using them for command points and wounds is going to be a lot of fun. Plus, it's a cool little size comparison. I like that. I'm sure, Mogwai in the comments just said, I hope it's a wall to prevent charges. I'm sure it will be, because it still counts as a model. So, I mean, at the very least, it's going to be like a version of the Palisades, like the crystal wall that can shut down charging lanes. But yeah. The Mechanite says, then you can use your dice as squigs. I'm down with that. Just buy a couple of boxes of these instead of buying the actual kits. That sounds super funny. As far as this collection of heroes, we still didn't really confirm whether they're a single unit. This is the kind of thing that like would be perfect for a battalion. If they were individual heroes, right? I could see a battalion using them all. There's certainly enough. I feel like every book has that one battalion that's like, take all your heroes. Just do it. The models here are absolutely astounding. They're all top notch. Even if they're just like replacements for generic, like say top left here was just your replacement for a Grot Shaman. He's phenomenal looking at that role. Of course, I think they said the Brew dude, I think that's kind of in the bottom right. I would love it if they were, I don't know if I want them to be a unit, because if all their abilities are so unique, having one unit that does so many roles makes them a prime target, and also kind of easy to mismatch your rules and get things wrong. But if it's a collection box, I was like, hey, if you're starting a Gloomspite Gits army, if you want heroes, here's a one-stop shop to get all the heroes you need when you're starting. That would be incredibly valuable for a lot of new players. I know, for example, Death Guard in 40k, they have a ton of smaller heroes that do a lot of cool interactions and buffs with their units. I would love it if there was a box that was like, here's all the heroes you need. Have fun. So that'd be kind of cool if it was that way. Here's some information about people saying you can use them as a unit or individually. Remains to be seen. I don't take any rumors for truth. This guy looks incredible. I think he would be a great replacement for your generic Grot War Boss. He's the buffer of the Stabas, so your big hordes of guys with spears. I don't know what his buff is, but it sounds super cool. He looks cool. You know what I mean? Here's fundamentally, here's the biggest thing. When you look at these heroes, and they make them seem like they are heroes, right? While we're looking at characters, would it make it seem like these 5 dudes are characters? The characters in this army, in this faction, the Moon Clan stuff, are so dirt cheap that like in any other army you're thinking, wow, I'm spending a lot of points on heroes. You're not, though. Not in this one. That's what's awesome about them. The hounds that sniff out fungus. From reading what it said before, seems like you're gonna have a chance to buff a nearby unit at maybe the potential of damaging them as well. Not sure how that'll work out as far as like what they'll be able to do in terms of combat effectiveness. They look mean. They look super fun. I dig it. 6 dudes for support units is kind of unique. And I like that. Usually it's just a hero that does that kind of stuff. That's super cool. I'd be interested to see. So it's like they're looking for fungus on the tabletop. I'd be interested to see if they kind of do the same thing that the Seraphon flyers do. I can't remember which flyer it is, but basically you put a token on the tabletop that your opponent can't interact with, and if anyone is near that token, they get bonus damage. The idea being the flyers are looking for food, and if you're near their food, you get hurt. And so, like, this would be funny if you could put down a little fungus token, and it did something similar. If your opponent was ever near it, there's extra damage. So that'd be kind of fun. They already have that kind of mechanic in their wheelhouse. Ripperdactyls, that's what they are. Yeah. Let's see, the Mangler, we talked about that. The only thing unique here, obviously besides the model being stunning, is the fact that they did mention you could put a hero on top, which I think sounds super cool. I would love it if the hero didn't sit on one, but like, I don't know, there was like chains that connected the two of them. He was just kind of holding on for dear life. I think that would be super funny. Because the idea of him sitting on one and the other one having no rider seems odd, and then having them chained together. But if there was like, he had a thing that linked the two of them together, it'd be really fun. And then as far as the remaking of the kit, my only real question is whether or not these are each multi-parts, or if you buy one box, which it seems like it's one box of 3 models. It's a 3-model kit, they say. If you get one of each. And again, not knowing their points or how relatively big they are, that could be fine. You know, if you're not going to take a bunch of them, that's cool. It just seems like I would really like a multi-part kit. They also don't need to be in one unit. So yeah. Looking here, and then our big guy at the bottom, he does seem to be a multi-part kit. It does seem like there's going to be other weapon options, a variety of alternatives, they say, and I'm very excited about that. But I don't know, man. They're going to have to do something really cool to make this better, right? Like, what other weapon option is there that supersedes a hammer as tall as the model is if he's the size of a Chaos Gargant, or the giant model? That's just incredible. I love it. So, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to questions. If you do have a question, you want to ask anything, go ahead and type questions in all caps on the run over on the side there, and I'll go ahead and answer them. So I'm happy to go back and forth between different models if you want me to highlight anything. Question. So are Grots as addicted to the shrooms as Skaven are addicted to Warpstone? Yes, that's a great comparison. For both of them, it gives their wizards and seers visions of grandeur and things like that. Warpstone is interesting because it kind of is used to power devices, and the fungus stuff, the only time naturally talked about as far as fungus empowering things to make them physically more powerful was in, this is taking too long to scroll, this dude, the big guy at the bottom, said that the fungus growing on Realmstone empowered him, filled him with magic. So that's kind of the only example of that, of the power part. Yeah. So Crazy Ender Monkey, what do you think the pricing will be? Well, GW pricing to me, I think the Battle Tome's pretty well secure at like, I think they're usually like $40, 35, 30 bucks. The cards will likely be like whatever, I don't know what normal cards are. I can't remember. I got mine at a discount, so I'm not sure. The thing is, with all their other kits, it tends to be that the more you need of a kit to complete a unit, the cheaper it is. For example, like 20 MoonClan Grots is like $35. That's a pretty great deal. Might even be 29. I don't know. Let's find out. But the idea is their pricing structure seems to be the fewer you need of something, the more expensive it becomes. Destruction. Grots. How much is the basic dude? He's $35 for 20. Yeah. So when it comes to like fanatics, what do you get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dudes and maybe 6. We're not sure if that counter counts as something else. I don't know, man. Probably the same. Probably like $35. I think a lot of this faction is going to be in the 35 to 50 area, with the exception of that big Gargant at the bottom, the big Uber dude. He's probably, because you're probably not going to have more than like max 2 in an army. I'm not sure how many points they are, but yeah, I think he'll be extremely expensive. He's also a centerpiece unit model to like, as far as like appearance, stuff like that. So yeah, lots of cool stuff going on. As far as these dudes, what is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. I am not quite sure. Yeah, 10 squigs and 2 herders, but I'm not sure if the other 2 herders we saw come in this. I'm not quite sure. Havoc 91, could the points cost of the unit in the game also factor with the price? They typically, as far as I can tell, don't. Because points cost to them is a very variable thing, whereas dollar costs tend to not change very much. For example, in 40K, there are some units that almost got 50% price reduction in their points cost, and nothing changes on the website. I don't think that factors in whatsoever. Question, do you think there will be a new Start Collecting box for them soon? I sure hope so. I think a lot of that depends on... I don't think it'll be right away. I'd be very surprised if it came out soon. It might be something like with the Fire Slayers, where it takes a year maybe. I would really keep an eye out. I'm interested to see if it would be next year's holiday bundle. I think that's a great guess because Deepkin came out this last year and it got a holiday bundle. Yeah. I don't think it'll happen right away though. I think there's enough. I'm not quite sure what they would put in there because if they have this group of 5 heroes as one box, that's going to have a lot of value because again, you're going to probably need fewer of these, so that's going to be more expensive. I'm sure this would be a $50 to $60 box. This one, I'm pretty sure. So it's like, how do you put a hero and a troop choice and something else in there? Do it effectively. Just a guy drawing. Question, do you think the Dankhold Troggoth will make alternative models like the Sylvaneth Tree Lord Ancient Kit other than the Dankhold Troggoth? I mean, yeah, it says he's multiple things. I'm not sure if every variation of him will have a different name. That'd be kind of cool if they were just multiple units. But they did say it's going to be a multi-part kit, so I'm sure he'll have other weapons. Maybe one will be like, I don't know, 2 hammers or something like that. I'm not quite sure. But most of their big stuff they come out with, I think, has some kind of variety to it, so I wouldn't be surprised. Clancy Murphy, do you play Total War Warhammer 1 or 2? I do not. Not this January, but in February, I'm going to be saving up to get a video card. My computer is really great. I saved up and got a really nice one. It has everything I need except for the graphics card to be able to play games. So the second I do that, I will be recording some games just to hang out. It's not going to replace any other content just because it's a setting I like, and I love Total War games. I actually have Total War Rome on my computer right now, and I love it. Let's see here. I'm interested in these guys here. I love these models. I just want to compare them to the stuff they already have. If they're still available. Oh, yeah, here they are. Is there a third one? Okay. Oh, no. They already took them down. I hate how when you look at their stuff, if it's sold out, you can't even kind of see the picture at all. That's annoying. Oh, well. But yeah, I just wanted to compare the old school Troggoths that the guy with the rock over his head compared to the new ones. It looks incredible. Kenzie, question. I bought a Wrath and Rapture to help a friend get into painting. She wanted to do Slash. How should I get her into the game proper as we're in the process of painting? Just play small games until she expresses more interest. I'd say if you have anything you can sub as, say, Chaos Warriors and give them the Mercus Lanesh, that's a great way to introduce a simple unit. Doesn't have a lot of complex rules. And just kind of increase the size of games incrementally. Wrath and Rapture, if you get the hang of Demonettes and the Fiends, the rest, anything else you add from like Chaos stuff, just to be cheap and simple, is a great way to build up because it's not adding a lot of complexity to each unit. Let's see here. So, yeah, okay. So if anyone else has any questions, I'll go ahead and answer them now. Go ahead and type in question in all caps. Do you think Forge World will make stuff for the new Grotz line? You know what? Let's go check out Forge World. Because they had a sorcerer that I thought was incredible. Oh, wait. I'm in the 40k one. Nuclear Grotz. So this is what they currently have. And it's all kind of old worldy stuff. I do think the Colossal Squig will work. So they have this thing they call the Nightclub Command Set. Honestly, it kind of seems similar in concept to the box of 5 heroes, but this is really just a set of heroes. My favorite, though, is, I don't know if they have a good picture of him, it's a Squig who's like barfing upward with like crazy magic coming out of him. I think it is just the coolest stinking model. And also I have, again, an armored Squig rider boss. Looks super good. As far as the Colossal Squig goes, I mean, if it has should have the Moon Clan keyword. I just saw it this weekend at an event. Yep. I can't imagine this not being compatible day one. Problem is, Forge World is pretty slow to update their rules, so if there was something, I'm not quite sure how long it would take. There's still beasts for Beasts of Chaos that should be in their section, but they just haven't added it yet. They haven't updated the War Scrolls at all. And this guy is spitting up all kinds of squigs. He just seems like he fits instantly. And they even got a picture of him rebased. That's nice. Let's see here. Question, will you be reviewing the Star Collecting Beasts of Chaos? Did I not review that one? Hold on, we're doing this. I am doing this. So Beasts of Chaos. There we go. Nope, I don't know why my computer didn't do that. Yeah, I totally did that. Look at that, 2+ Beasts of Chaos review. Go knock yourself out. What do you think of the $500 Forge World Corn model? I think my good friend Jack from Rerolling Ones is going to have a great time buying and painting that. That's all I have to say about it. I think he's fantastic. I only saw one video where someone actually had one on a table for scale reference. That was Venomous Wargaming. But you know what? Honestly, it's so big that it doesn't do a lot. And like, I was looking at it. The things that I like in games are when units just zip around the board and just harass your enemy, and like, you know, I love when my mana core hops on a building and then like charges down into something. It's very dramatic. There's a lot of motion involved. It makes full use of the three-dimensional nature of the game. The thing about the big corn dude, which I guess I'm still on there, I can show you that if you haven't seen it. Chaos. Here he is. One, he's a named character that has his own limitations, but he is so colossal that he honestly, if you have any terrain on the table, he can't move a whole lot. And I was like, that's no fun. So it's a stunning model. This is something I would buy if I was a modeler first, gamer second. But I'm more of a lore guy and gamer before I am a true modeler. So I like him. If someone has him, I encourage him to buy it. But yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm getting behind on the questions here. Here we go. So yeah, we're super happy to see all the new Troggoth kits. They're wonderful. There's a question. What's your favorite new model? Favorite of the new models? Let's take a look. Honestly, the three here, they might be my favorite. And here's for a few reasons. One, the updates to the sculpts look incredible, like absolutely incredible. I love the kind of slender mid to lower half with the really big brutish arms. They look great, but also what I think is important is that when they recombine these factions, you know, Beasts of Chaos, like Bray Herd was okay on its own, not great. It was not going to win anything, but it was fun and thematic on its own. And I think War Herd was great because Mark with Rerolling Ones did a great job with them. They were really fun. They've toasted my army multiple times, despite what he'll tell you about them being terrible. When they brought the two together, I think they both lost a little bit of their individuality, and it kind of became Beasts of Chaos capitalized. Why am I bringing this up? Because the Troggoths and being bigger and bulkier, I think visually and rules-wise, are a fantastic counterpoint to the MoonClan Grots. Like your hordes of little dudes being supplemented by big things that can do big damage. And so visually, it breaks up, first of all, how many MoonClan Grots you need. Because right now, if you want to play MoonClan Grots this second before the book comes out, you need like 240 of those little buggers. Whereas that might go down to, say, 60 to 90, depending on the rules and how it all works. And then supplemented by big things like this that, you know, again, means less models to paint because you have guys who are just more points expensive, but then also add visually to the faction by breaking up the monotony of a bunch of little guys with spears or bows and kind of increasing, I don't know, just how diverse it is. This guy is incredible looking. I love large centerpiece models, but I think it's the three here that kind of take it home for me, especially if you can have them in units. You know, if I had three of these dudes trucking rocks, that sounds pretty cool. I like it. Let's see here. Just follow up on questions here. New Squid Riders. Question. I know you're doing Beast of Chaos. I've been doing them myself. A lot of conversions. Done much conversion work yourself. I'm struggling with chariots with the new base size. I have not done any conversions because the stuff that I have gotten for Beast of Chaos was built before. The things I do going forward, I'm going to go buy a bunch of heroes and stuff like that and do my own conversions. When I do conversions, I always like to have one of the original model and then one that I've converted, just because if I ever have two of something, they look different, right? I think that's super important for me personally. So like not much is converted because it's all built beforehand, but anything going forward will be. This last weekend I went to an event in Mox, Seattle. Mox Boarding House is the place in Seattle, Washington. And there was a Gave Spawn player, another one, because that's what I was running. And he had been playing since 7th edition with Beasts of Chaos, doing all kinds of mutation-y stuff. He had a chariot that was being pulled by a spawn that looked incredible. I was like, I'm doing like 6 of those. It was so fun. So yeah, I have a, well, it's not near me right now, but I do have a chariot inbox, like the old one. So I'm going to be taking one of my spawn and throwing him as instead of the boars, who I think look terrible. But I see your point. Converting is not always the easiest thing. Let's see here. That's interesting. The Dread Saurian is now on the same base size as the Corn Dragon. I did not know that. I've only seen the Dread Saurian a handful of times. A friend of the show, Josh, has one, and it's massive. There's no other word for it. Question: do you think Aurochs are getting a big battle tome that combines Ironjawz, Bone Splitters, and other Aurochs and monsters? I don't think Bone Splitters and Ironjawz will be combined. Because they have different enough ideologies to make them different factions, and I think they have different strengths. Like every dude has at least 2 wounds and a 6-up save for anything ever in Bone Splitters is super fun, whereas Ironjawz rely on better armor saves and things that can be modified a bit more. I think they're different enough in their ideologies in terms of what Gorjak wants to accomplish and what the Bone Splitters want to accomplish at their finest different factions. I do want to see greenskins rolled in somewhere. No, I don't care where. And yeah, I want both books to get updated battle tomes for sure. I want Bone Splitters to have more options than the Cunning Ruck. I think the Cunning Ruck's great if you do it in melee. The shooting Cunning Ruck that made it so popular, I think, is annoying as all get out. Even I tried it once and I was like, I'm never doing this again. And then for Ironjawz, I think their bravery needs to be looked at. That's the biggest thing to me. Yeah, let's see here. Question: not a fan of the Finecast stuff, so have a Moose Lord, Beast Lord, and an Orgoroid Thaumaturge / Dracoth hybrid. Centaur's mix of Gore and Stag. Yeah, those are great conversions. Let's see here. Got a few. Do you ever think GW will be reuniting the Skaven clans? You know, honestly, I mean, here's the thing. People thought I was crazy when I said, oh, look, they reorganized the website and, kind of glumped things together. People were, and GW came on their Facebook page and said, nope, this is just for shopper experience, or we're reorganizing the site for simplicity. And I said, no, I think this is a blueprint for what these armies are going to be like. And people were like, no, you're wrong. And so like that's fine. But the thing is that this is exactly what happened here. Everything that says Grots, including the Troggoths, which are not Grots, like just on principle, were rolled in this new book. I'm pretty sure the Spearchukka, the Snotlings, I think their kits are just going to go away. I would not be surprised. Wolf Riders are already gone. And that's the only ones. But yeah. So like... I think the, what did they used to be called? The Forest Goblins. I can't remember what they used to be called. I think they're going away. That's not the biggest loss. A lot of those sculpts were incredibly old and dated. But yeah. So do I think the Skaven ones, to your point, yeah, if we go to the Chaos section, all of the Skaven are in one thing. So it wouldn't surprise me if they brought them all back together. Because Pestilence needs an update desperately. It's a good book. There's lots of cool things in there that people overlook, but I think the game has just evolved past what Pestilence is now. And so doing a similar thing as they're doing with Moonclan Grots, with the other Grot factions in the Troggoths, and of course Beasts of Chaos, I think, is the defining it's the defining concept and design for reuniting old factions, but still maintaining their individual character. So yeah, I think that's kind of the plan, and it certainly wouldn't surprise me. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. Nope. Okay, Emperor's Champion. Question, do you like the Troggoth Hag? No, I hate that model. Let me see if I can find it just by typing in Hag. Here we go, Troggoth Hag. I hate this model. However, the one credit I will give it is that I had no idea how huge this thing is. This is a huge model. Like, it is ridiculous. Oh, here's a good comparison. Yeah, like, I would have never gotten that sense of scale just by looking at this by itself. And it seems so much like a lot of the Forge World stuff that came out in that same time frame. It came out in support of the Tamarkan's Horde book. It was one of the people that they visited. It wasn't my favorite. Nancy Murphy, do you follow up on Total War Warhammer? If so, what are your expectations for Warhammer 3? I don't yet. Gaming is, it's one of those things, like, unless it produces something that I want to share with people, I don't typically follow it. And so when I do get the video card to start doing Total War stuff, that's when I'll follow the industry news a little bit more and talk about that. Kenzie, someone at my local store, GW, gifted me a bunch of old world models. What should I do with them after I build and paint them? And then your follow-up question is, what is Mordheim specifically? So, great question. What is Mordheim? So newer players would not know that. Basically what it was is, imagine there was a city called Mordheim. And the idea was you were fighting over resources there. So if you know what Kill Team is for 40k, which I think you're familiar with that, you have 40k, the big game, and then basically you pick a few handful of units to fight over objectives and resources on a small scale, where it's, instead of big armies, it's like 3 to 12-ish models. Your maxing Kill Team is 20, but that's not what I mostly see. It's the same idea. It's the same thing. It's the Kill Team version for fantasy is what it used to be. And so people talk about it because it was super cool. I mean, there was rules for everything, like jumping off a balcony. You had the distance, and it would, there was just kind of, it's very granular in terms of points. Very similar, probably more similar to Necromunda than it was to current Kill Team, but I only say Kill Team because it's a more recent release. So if you haven't been around very long, it's something you probably know about. Yeah. And so that's what it is. Mordheim was just a way to play Warhammer Fantasy battles that used very few models, a lot of campaign systems, leveling up individually. People miss it. People said that it was thought that Skirmish was going to be what Mordheim used to be, and it's just not at all, because there's no character development, story arcs, games don't really matter. It's just very bland. And the points, there was no work going into the points, and so people weren't really happy about it. Let's see here. I'm sure other people, if you're in the chat, if you played Mordheim more, I only played like 2 games because I did a lot more with Necromunda when I was younger, just because of the gaming group I had. Go ahead and answer those. Just a guy drawing. Are you a little disappointed they haven't shown / given us any new Spiderfang Grot models alongside the new Troggoths and Moonclan ones? What are the Spiderfang models like? Let's take a look at them. Oh, I forgot I was talking about Skaven. I'm not sure. I know I love the Arachnarok. I think that one still has legs. 8 of them. Hey-o. And then here's the Spiderfang Grot models. They look a little rough. Not that they look rough. They just look, they look like they were made to be in rank and file stuff on square bases, which means not very dynamic. The Arachnarok, this looks stunning. One thing I was surprised when, I remember this from Warhammer Weekly, like way back in the day. There's a few folks talking about the idea of, there's like 4 different ways to build this with like different, like here's one where it's stuffed to the brim with people throwing spears and bows. There's variations where there's like a shaman on top. Like I thought those were going to be each individual war scrolls. They still might be. But I thought Spider-Fang was going to be bigger, and so maybe it will be, instead of just one War Scroll card that has like a bajillion different options on it. So I still want it to be greater than it is, this would be like a rules thing, right? So we don't have all the details in the rules yet. They might make the Arachnarok a few different variations and give them all different names. This is the Grot boss on Gigantic Spider. He's pretty cool. There's only one picture of him. Yeah, at least their entries on here need an update. My biggest thing with the actual Spider Riders is that they look too cramped. I wish that the legs came out. You know what I mean? Like side to side. But right now they look a little cramped because they're made to go on square bases. That's kind of a bummer. I do wish there was a bit more for that. But then again, they didn't update any of the sub factions really for Beasts of Chaos, so I don't know what I would be expecting. Let's see here. No, that is it for the questions right now. The Arachnarok model does look good, but I prefer the Colossal Squig. Totally. I mean, I think of the two, I would still go with the Arachnarok. One, I want to say Arachnarok as many times as possible to my opponent. Let's take a look at the Colossal Squig. We'll compare the two. Destruction. Here he is. I did see a Colossal Squig this weekend, and I thought he was bigger. I thought he was even more colossal. But here he is compared to a Liberator. I love that Forge World did that. That's super nice of them. I thought he was a little bit bigger. I feel like he's about Troll Hag size. But, and then Arachnarok. Is there a comparison size for him? No. Bummer, but he is reboxed already. That's kind of nice. Let's see here. Question, why do you think Git Mob Grots were left out? Do you think they could be dropped? Or any other plans for them? I think... one, I think the sculpts are very outdated in a way that didn't fit with what they want to do going forward with fantasy. I think another part is, frankly, a lot of those things were metal. Like, if we look at what the Git Mob, I'm sorry, I forgot that name earlier, but what they are, the Pump Wagon, the Doom Diver Catapult, Great Rock Lava, Spear Chukka, a lot of those things had heavy metal components, and they've been moving away from those for years. So they would have to have re-envisioned them, and if they didn't match what they wanted to do with this new faction, the Gloomspite Gits, they just were getting cut. That being said, if we look at, let's say hypothetically that I was correct, and that the way that they restructured stuff was the new factions going forward, or at least what they're kind of brainstorming factions to be going forward. That would mean there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 factions for destruction. The thing is that several times in the books, they've hinted at the idea of pirate grots. And I just think that if they did that, that'd be incredible. First of all, do that, GW. But then also, what role do the forest ones fill that these ones don't? And I think they just didn't have a place, and to reinvest in that would cost too much money. So I think they're probably getting axed. But I do think because of that, both War Scrolls for the Git Mob Grots and the Moon Clan Grots, they just say Grots. So I wouldn't be surprised if you could use those models. I don't think anyone would care if you used those Forest Goblin models as Grots in this one. They're the same thing. Just call them what they are. So yeah. Question. Is the word Arachnarok a play on words for Ragnarok? Yes, I believe it is. He is the bringer of doom, destruction, and the end of all things. That is my understanding. It's Arachnid and Ragnarok. Is the Colossal Squig not much bigger than an individual Mangler Squig then? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they are at least comparable. I think because of the pose of the legs, the old Mangler Squid was taller, but of course they're making a new one, so I don't know. If the new one does have a hero riding the top one, I'd imagine he would be taller. Matt Adams, do you think the normal human armies will come back to AOS like Free Guild? I do, because of my theory about the restructuring of all things. Free Peoples has been lumped in with Ironwall Arsenal, so I do think the engineering aspect of mankind is going to be focused on quite a bit. So I'm very excited about that. Wizards are brought back in. All your gun batteries, dudes with guns, the witch hunter himself. I think even flagellator brought back in. There's out of stock. Okay, yeah, I think that'll all be around, and I'm hoping they will be. Do you think Gloomspite Gits will get? Wait, do you think we will get new Troggoths and Spiderfang models with Gloomspite Gits? Well, Alex, we just went through the entire thing. We're getting new Troggoths. If you haven't seen those, go check them out on the community page. We got the smaller ones here. And this is just direct replacements for all of the old Troggoths who were super rough looking. And then we got this big boss hog down here with the big hammer. He's going to be the centerpiece model. I didn't realize until just now, but if you look at it, this is a dwarf statue head upside down. There's a beard going on there, and this is the tip of his head. I like that. So yes, to answer your question, confirmed. We're getting new stuff for that. I think Gitmob is getting merged with Greenskins. Interesting. That'd be interesting if they were. Mick Mahan, I'm sorry. What do you think they will announce for the Gits after New Year's? The first article said there was going to be more announced after New Year's. Oh, yeah. Certainly the thing that they've said a few times after they said more information's coming, they're going to review the allegiance abilities and how that works, the Bad Moon on the tabletop. There's going to be probably, they always do previews of like what certain units do. Like they're probably going to preview this dude. I mean, he's just such a big dude. They want you to go out and buy him. So they're probably going to show you the variety of options he gets. I would like personally, if you're listening, GW, a tutorial on using the various extra bits from different kits to add personality to the older things. Like show me how to make the old Moonclan Grot models look more dynamic and colorful like the current ones. So for example, if I'm sure there's a bajillion extra mushrooms for this guy that we don't need. They just always are. Kind of like Nurglings with any Nurgle kit. You just get they just design the kit and they're like, hey, give him 10 free Nurglings, right? That's what they do. Same thing with mushrooms here. Like show me how to use those things across older models that you kept and repackage. I think that'd be fun. So anyway, I think stuff like that, hobby modeling, I'm sure Tyler Mangle will have some tutorial. He already did one for Moonclan Grots, but like Troggoth skin, that kind of stuff. He does that kind of junk. Louis Gomez, how lore friendly are Black Orc chariots? How lore friendly a Black Orc chariot was on Fantasy? I'm not sure I understand the question. Alex says, so no Spiderfang. Spiderfang is in here, but no new models is the clarification I would do. Question, I might be wrong, but believe Fnatic is the first new plastic kit to be replaced, if that's going to happen more. Yeah, as far as I know, what he's talking about is, are Fanatics the first existing plastic kit that has just gotten a complete makeover? And I believe that is true. Everything else is either new or a replacement on a, some other thing, an old metal kit or something like that. I believe that is the case. I can't think of any other replacements since AOS started, specifically. Anything else that I would wish for? My goodness, that's a great question. I was not ready for it. I mean, that was here by accident, but honestly, free guild people. Any human, I want to look different. Basically, I don't want an entire army of people in onesies with some pretty outrageous cod pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that they make humans sound super cool and different in how they look and all different kinds of stuff. So do that for them as well. Kyle, I'm wanting to return to the hobby because of this release. I found a sweet deal locally for night goblins, unbuilt for the most part, at $1 a piece. Any tips on how many I should get? 100 maybe. Well, right now they come in units of basically increments of 20. So it goes 20, 40, 60, 60 being the maximum size unit. So I would think in increments of that many. I would try to get a bulk deal and be like, hey, because most people who are getting rid of Moonclan Grots, like, they would just want to get rid of them. Just get rid of them. So I would say either what, 60 or 120. See if they can get you a bulk discount on that. If you don't want to spend any more than 100, I would probably say 80, because 2 units of 40 is a lot to chew through. Like, I put 2 units of 30 gore on the table this weekend for a local tournament we'll talk about later, but it's a lot to chew through. And so I would say either go 2 units of 40 or the full shebang if you want to do that, 120. So that'd be my suggestion if it's possible. But I'm so glad you're returning to the hobby. That's awesome. It seems like it's going to be a great release, and man, a buck a model is a fantastic deal. So between that, that would at least take care of your battle line for sure, because Moonclan are going to be battle line. I have no doubts about that. And then everything else is just filling in with these cool, big looking models that you can save up for later. And you could say paint 20 Moonclan Grots and then paint one of these guys so you don't go insane and blow your brains out. That was super dark, but you get what I mean. If you just sit there and paint 120 Grots, you're going to go insane. I'm going to throw that realism out there for you. Alex says, yeah, plastic humans are on my list. They're the top of my list. I have been saying I think Skaven and humans are the most important factions that GW needs to cover in terms of world building when it comes to humans, and then the most characterful. It's up there. I think Moonclan Grots were up there in terms of character and devoted fan base, but Skaven, there's so many Skaven players who are excited to get a new book. Question 2. 2 max unit of Gores. How'd they treat you? Fantastic, actually. We'll talk about that. I'm going to do a dedicated show with Jack from Rolling Ones, because me and him were both in the event. We'll go through our games, the scenarios, because the scenarios mattered quite a bit. And I'll talk about my list. I did have 2 units of 30 gore, and they were awesome. They didn't do a lot, but they were fun. Let's see here. Kyle responds, asking about 100 as a base point, not to overbuy, to see what's going on. Yeah, if you're looking to do one order to get everything, 120 is the way to go. Again, as we stand right now, things might change if the book comes out and they kind of tweak max sizes. But when you go to GW and you buy Moonclan Grots, they come in increments of 20. And the idea right now is it goes 20, 40, 60, 60 being the maximum size. I think that's definitely something to look at. So I would say either 120 or something smaller. Pick your units out. Question. With the Season of Destruction coming, do you think we'll see more Stormcast like we did with Death? Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think Stormcast are their Space Marine equivalent in terms of being poster boys, and they're always going to get support. I will add that whenever their next book comes out with a new chamber, I want them to tone down a few things like Sequitors and Evocators, but I think it's assured that more Stormcasts are coming. Let's see. Merchant Prince, I hope to do free guild like Imperial Guard, where there's different alternate looks for your dudes. I do like the Landsknecht Holy Roman Empire look, though. Some of the free guild stuff I do like. I really like the Flagellants kit. Is one of the best model kits that GW has ever produced, because the bits in there are astounding. So that one I don't think needs to change. I think if you are ever interested in learning to convert models and make them look different, let's see if it. They don't have the sprue printed out. All the bits on these things are incredible. The human stuff, I love all the leaders, the weapons. This guy looks like he's the same kind of crazy, ridiculous fantasy as everything else, but Alex says everyone hates on Stormcast, but the Sacrosanct Chamber models are my favorites. I'm going to tell you about Stormcast. I think the first wave of them didn't interest me at all. Like the actual Liberators and Retribution, it just aesthetically didn't interest me. Everything that they have done for that faction since has been exciting in a new and different way. Like the Vanguard Chamber with the long strikes and the guys riding the Paladors and the Hunters. Every one of them looks incredible. Love those models. The new chamber, the Sacrosanct Chamber that just came out, they all look fantastic. They're very dynamically posed. They're all doing cool stuff. So, like, people give them crap because they're the poster boys, and the poster boys are always going to get garbage. You know what I mean? They're going to get like hassled for getting more releases than anyone else or being the most favored with updated battle tomes. It just happens. It's just what people do. But I think model wise, the Stormcast line is probably definitive proof that I just feel like when you watch the evolution of those models, you're watching their GW's model designers, like the 3D model designers on CADs, but that improve as artists, and it's just it's awesome. Okay, so with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. If anyone has any last minute questions about this faction, I'm going to be on doing another video here pretty quick about my hobby goals for 2019, and you're all going to deride me for some of them, and that's okay. But it's going to happen. So if you have any last minute questions, go ahead and put question in the comment section. And we'll go ahead and wrap up this talk about the Gloomspite Gits. Now, of course, they are coming out on the 5th. I'm hoping to have a lore series the week of the 5th. Like starting on that Monday, going into when the Battle Tome actually releases. But we will have to see about that and how kind the mailman is to me. Yeah. So yeah, okay, there's no more questions. I'm going to go ahead and close this down. Thank you all so much for watching. It's always fun to review the different sub-factions, stuff like that, and new stuff coming out. I'm very excited about this. If there is any more news, I will go ahead and jump into that. Kinsey asks, when are the narrative campaigns and battle reports coming? If you don't know, I'm going to put a picture up here talking about it. I just got a collapsible gaming table and a whole bunch of terrain and battle mats in to start filming battle reports. I need to do a little bit of reshuffling and remodeling in my office area to get that going. And it's going to be a little bit because I have to finish painting up a few factions to get that going. So I'm hoping probably around February-ish to start recording stuff. And it's going to be a slow trickle at first as I learn new software and get into stuff. I have a lot of vision planned for it. But I'm excited to start, and I hope you guys are excited to watch. Question, when do you think Dark Elves will be rolled into Malarian Shadow Elves? We have no clue about Shadow Elves. That's a thought. It was referenced in lore books, but we don't know anything about them, so I have no idea. Hopefully 2019? Question mark. So, all right, friends. I look forward to seeing you all. I might do a live show later tonight. It was like 7 o'clock already. My goodness. I'm going to go ahead and shut it down for the night. And I will talk to you all real soon with some hobby goals and New Year's resolutions. Thank you all so much for watching, and happy wargaming.